Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving deep into a really complex and disturbing story out of the sacred town of Dharmasthala. We're talking about secret burials, a huge legal battle over what the media can and can't say, and a community that's basically at its breaking.
So you might be asking, what is actually going on here? Well, you've got to understand, this whole thing is playing out on 3 different battlegrounds at the same time. You've got the police investigation into these just horrific crimes. Then you have this massive fight in the courts about media freedom. And finally, there's the court of public opinion, which is just as intense. We're going to tackle each.
All right, first up, let's get into what the authorities are doing. This is all about the boots-on-the-ground search for physical evidence. Okay, so the main player, the one you really need to know about, is the Special Investigation Team, or SIT. And let's be clear, this isn't your average police task force. The Karnataka government put this team together specifically to dig into some incredibly serious allegations. We're talking about potential mass murders, people disappearing, and secret burials going back almost 20 years.
And here's the kicker. This isn't just some committee writing a report. The SIT has been given the full power of a police station. What does that mean? It means they can act on their own. They can file their own reports, build the cases, and go straight to the judiciary. That kind of independence is huge, right? It lets them cut through any red tape or potential meddling and just get the job done.
And the work is already turning up some pretty grim stuff. Investigators have actually found skeletal fragments and human skulls out in the woods near the Netravati River. But they are facing some massive challenges. We're talking tough, forested terrain, and on top of that, heavy rain is making the search a total nightmare. To deal with this, they've asked for high-tech gear like ground-penetrating radar to see what might be buried underground.
So, while the SIT is literally digging in the dirt for evidence, a totally different fight was kicking off in the courts. This one wasn't about what happened, but about who was allowed to talk about what happened.
At first, there was this huge effort to just shut down the conversation. A lower court put out this sweeping gag order, which basically makes it illegal to report on something. And get this, it led to over 8,800 online links about the case being blocked. Just poof. Almost 9,000 articles, videos, and posts gone.
But that was far from the end of it. The case got kicked up to the Karnataka High Court, and they had a completely different take. They threw out the gag order entirely, and in a really interesting move, the judge who made that first ruling actually removed himself from the case. From there, the fight went all the way to the Supreme Court.
So it all came to a head at the Supreme Court, and they came down hard on the side of media freedom, refusing to silence the press. Their ruling was a really powerful statement. They basically said, look, you can't just put a blanket ban on reporting, even if you're worried some of the claims might be defamatory. That was a game changer for this case.
Okay, so the investigation is digging, the media is now free to report, and that's when the third front opened up, the court of public opinion. And things got messy really fast.
You know, that freedom to report had some very real consequences on the ground. Some of the activists and YouTubers who were covering the story ended up facing criminal charges for what was called provocative content. And it gets worse. There have been reports of actual physical attacks on reporters and YouTubers in Dharmasthala, which has led to multiple police complaints.
And you can see this split clear as day in the political reactions. On one side, you have groups like the Vishwa Hindu Parishad, the VHP, saying this is all just an attack on religious values, an attempt to smear Dharmasthala's name. But then on the other side, you have some BJP leaders claiming it's a huge conspiracy by leftist forces trying to undermine Hindu institutions. They're so far apart, they're even demanding a narco-analysis on the original complainant. It's like they're talking about 2 completely different events.
And it's not just activists and political groups. The government is paying close attention. The forest minister has gone on record saying that if the SIT proves illegal burials happened and that forest officials look the other way, well, heads are going to roll. That puts a lot of pressure on government officials, too.
So, after all that, where do things stand right now? Let's take a step back and look at the big picture across all 3 of these fronts.
Okay, so let's put it all together. You've basically got 3 different storylines happening all at once. The investigation is moving ahead, armed with new authority and tech. The legal system has given the media a green light to cover it. And in the public arena, it's an all-out war of words. The thing is,
These aren't separate tracks. They're constantly crashing into each other, making the whole situation even more complicated.
And that really brings us to the biggest, most difficult question at the heart of the Dharmasthala case. When you have the official investigation, the media, and public opinion all in conflict, pulling in completely different directions, how do you ever find out what really happened? It's something to think about. Thanks for joining me on this Explain